So how did I? So the question is, how did I scale my business? Or
Di ba, sir, di ba yung portfolio nyo as the years go by, habang lumalaki yung port nyo, no? So how of course may mga challenges yon along the way, yung malaking port. Kasi for example, yung thousands port ko ngayon, iba na yung problems ko pag millions na yung port ko, di ba? So yung scaling up na yun, sir, ano yung mga naging challenges nyo along the way?
Right. So obviously the number one way to really grow to scale your port is with performance, no? As a marketing guy, as someone who was in marketing for 3 years, the fastest way to really bring down the business is to market a bad product, right? So first of all, you really need to be in a position to communicate, to market. And although during that time, nung nag-start ako, di ko naman alam na I did not have the same level of awareness na to sa bull market eh. Pag bull market, lahat magaling eh, di ba? Lahat kala nila magaling sila. So, during that time, the number one way that I scaled it up was essentially through making customers happy. That's one. I think it came to a point where 2016, at the 17 or at the height of the fund, 80% of pretty much all money or all clients were internally referred by an existing client. So it was really by existing clients that were seeing the returns and referring other clients. So that was really how I scaled. What are the challenges in scaling a fund that size? I would say that maybe the number one challenge that a lot of people don't realize is that the more and more clients that you manage, the more and more money that you manage, the more and more you expose yourself to the client's biases.
Grabe.
And I think that's really the main challenge, not just for myself, but a lot of other people who also manage money professionally, not just in COL, but I'm sure you guys have the same experience. Why? Kasi when you manage, Kasi when you manage client money, syempre you talk to them every day. Not naman every day, but you talk to them once in a while. I have clients who would like to call me maybe 3-4 times a week. We'd exchange ideas. And the reality kasi is that, and this is maybe what I've learned, is that in the stock market, what's the percentage of people that lose money? It's around 85%. It's 85%. Not just here, that's the statistic around the world, and that's the long-term statistic. Taas, diba? Pero syempre, hindi naman ibig sabihin nun, 85% of the people hold 85% of the money. Hindi naman, it doesn't necessarily translate that way. In fact, it's the opposite, diba? 20% of the people hold 80% of the money, and it's the 80%, the other 80% that maybe lose money. So here's the thing. If you decide to, let's say, start managing clients, the more and more you expose yourself to the 80%, or to the crowd, to the consensus, to other people's ideas on how the money should be deployed, right? And as most of you guys maybe already know, at the peak of market cycles, that's when people are mostly optimistic. In fact, going back to one of the challenges of building a fund is that, pare ako, and no fail, most of the referrals that I get from happy clients, na happy management naman yung inaanak ko, or ito yung kapatid ko, yung brother-in-law ko, may pera, ganyan. Lahat nakukuha ko sa to. I always get all my referrals at the top. Not all, but majority, right? And in the same way that you get most of the people na gustong kumalas, or gustong, let's say, umalis sa service, or let's say that are considering other alternatives like maybe bonds, a money market that's giving them 4, 5, 6%. You always have those challenges at the bottom. Why? Kasi at the bottom is when you have peak pessimism. And at the top is always when you have peak optimism. And maybe one of the challenges of scaling a fund is you expose yourself to the emotional cycle along investing. And syempre, as fund managers, ang naging trabaho mo, it's not just to manage the money, it's also to educate the people, right? It really becomes an education job at the end of the day. You really have to lead and handhold and just try to educate clients and pray a lot na tama yung sinasabi mo. Diba? So,
Sir,
malaking bagay ang dasal dyan. Yeah.
Magandang thought yung yung educate part. Kasi ako sa experience ko, diba, maraming nagpapamanage ng fund.
Right.
Kung sino yung mga tao na when you talk to them naman, makikita mo yung level ng mga financial literacy ng mga tao.
Right.
Kung sino yung mga, sa tingin ko na financial literate, sila yung hindi hindi ka ninanag about your trades.
Right.
Tapos yung sino yung mga
walang alam.
Yung walang alam. Sila yung laging nangungulit. Kamusta ba yung account natin?
Actually, totoo yun, no? In fact, we are everyone's mentor here, si Boss Edward, would always give this quote by, I think it's from Ralph Waldo Emerson. He would always say that fear always comes from a lack of understanding. And if you have clients that come to you and nag you and let's say are expressing concerns or pare simple lang as may nabasa sila sa newspaper.
Oo, yan.
Na may nabasa sa newspaper. Like for example, 2011, I would get a call from a client to meet him 11 midnight kasi may 11 an hour before midnight kasi may mababasa sa newspaper na China will go into a hard landing. Diba? Even though 2011 or this was 2012, time was up 25-30% for that year, diba? So education is very important because education is the antidote to the fear that most people have in financial markets. And number one reason why people don't really invest is because of a lack of understanding, and the lack of understanding usually results in negative emotions, fear, worry, doubt, and so yun yung I'd say when you decide to answer the call, not just to manage your own money, but to answer the call of serving others and managing other people's money. The challenge really is exposing yourself to their own trading psychology without them even having the awareness as to how that even affects the fund managers. Like for example, syempre, see may mga clients, I'm sure may mga clients kayo, makakuha ng tip from an insider. Diba? Syempre, lalapit yan sa'yo. Pare, may nagsabi sa akin, may nagtip sa akin. Syempre, ikaw, as a professional that has a clearly defined methodology as to how to engage and how to make money in the market. Syempre, you want to stay away from that. In fact, andito ako sa desk ko ngayon sa office. Meron ako quote dito from Jesse Livermore. Sabi niya, successful operators have trained themselves to ignore, and admittedly, that's not easy, the hysteria and sounds of alarm that accompany of supposedly market pronouncements and tips. So, if you're handling clients...
To the moon, ISM, no? Tapos,
yung ISM craze, parang may isa kong hinahandle na maliit lang naman. Sabi, pare, meron ba tayo niyan? Dapat meron tayo niyan, ha?
Di bilhin mo na ngayon, Brad.
Yung mga ganun, di ba? So, yun. Education talaga yung ano.
So, ako, ang natutunan ko, going back to what did I learn? ang natutunan ko is that in the same way that we have clearly defined rules for growing the money, we should also have a set of clearly defined rules for raising the money. Yung pagkuha ng kliyente ng pera, yung rules of engagement with your clients, kailangan klaro din yung rules na. Kasi dapat may rules talaga, kundi kakainin ka. Let's say if you're managing 10, 20, 30, 40 clients, talagang you can really get caught up in the ideas and the pronouncements and the tips and the hysteria, and you can really get caught up with the emotional cycle that runs along with the market. And me, sabi ni I think this was Mark Minervini, nag-attend ako ng workshop in 2017. Sabi niya, nung nagtayo daw siya ng hedge fund, I think this was late 90s, ang term na ginamit niya is cave mentality. Dapat daw, kuwari si David Ryan daw, ilalagay lang daw sa kuweba. Tapos, at the end of the day, i-shoot lang yung mga charts sa loob ng kuweba. And then, that would be the most optimal way of making decisions. Kasi, remember, in the market, the consensus is always on the wrong side of the market. And to be able to, and what I always tell my team and other people here is that in the market, if you want to make money, you really need to learn how to be a leader and not a follower. That means that simply means you need to learn how to bring yourself to a level where you can be confident enough to make decisions on your own, right? I'm not saying don't follow other people. All I'm saying is, syempre, the reason why you follow other leaders, the purpose of leadership is to develop other leaders, right? And those are the leaders that you want to follow, those where you natututo ka, where you learn, where you grow, where you develop into your trader/leader. So, but if you're simply someone that follows, I remember meron akong just a very quick story. I think this was 2015, 2016, di ko na maalala. Pumunta ako sa isang, maliit na inuman lang. Then, nag-usap yung girlfriend ko at the time, pati yung kaibigan niya. So, naiwan sa akin yung boyfriend ng, yung mga lalaki nag-usap, di ba? So, yung mga lalaki nag-usap. So, sabi nalaman na sa market ako. So sabi ko, siyempre tinanong nila ako, so ano type mong stock? So sabi ko, biggest position namin nun was Bell I think it was 2015 or 2000. So, basta it was 6 months before nag-open yung City of Dreams. Right? And we had Bell as a big position. We were, I think, holding, if I'm not mistaken, 1.3% of the outstanding shares of that stock. Not me, but the whole... Well, it wasn't just me. It was the whole independent financial advisory group. Syempre, and ang play namin was simple. Bell was on an uptrend. It was, I think, 45 degrees above the 20 days. So it was kumbaga sa ZFT system, pasok siya sa trend follow. Pasok siya sa TF. And then, so, syempre, tinanong sa akin, kung gusto mo, syempre, Bell yung sabihin ko, diba? Ito yung dahilan, mag-open sila, and malakas siya sa China because yun yung hindi nakuha ng Soler and ganyan. So kunentuhan ko, and then, so bumili yata siya ng Bell, and a month later, what happened? one month later, ano nangyari? Ang ginawa ng Bell, syempre, a lot of people called it a lot of people called it a scorpion move that would not normally happen, but Bell injected its casino license into its subsidiary Sino, which eventually became PLC. Long story short,
scorpion pattern. Scorpion pattern.
Scorpion pattern.
Scorpion behavior. So yun yung term namin here inside for management doing unscrupulous moves, no? So, ang nangyari, may ginawang kagaguhan yung Bell, inagay niya yung casino niya sa ibang listed company. So, the stock dropped from, I think, 640 or close to 7 down to like $4 in a span of a month. Wow. Like 440. So, 2015, I think,
No.
So,
Grabe.
GG, di ba? So, syempre kami, parang isang buwan kami nag-cut, di ba? So, bumaba ng 440 yan. Nung nag-rally yan all the way to 520, 540, linabas namin lahat. Di ba?
So nakalabas. Mo?
Yun nga yung problema eh. And that goes back to my point of becoming followers and leaders. Kasi 6 months later, or maybe I think it was a year later na nakita ko siya and then sabi niya sa akin, oh, Javi, ano nangyari sa Bell? Tapos sabi ko, hindi mo kinat talaga?
Awkward.
Diba? So that was a very important lesson I learned, that especially if you're a trader, you have a responsibility to, when people ask you, like ako, dati, very generous ako sa tips, sa advice. Pero ngayon, pag tinatanong ako kung ano yung binibili ko sa market, very guarded na ako magsalita. Kasi, syempre, alam naman natin that magaling ka na kung batting average mo, 70-80%. Most traders average, especially if malakas ka mag-cut, average 40, 50, 60% hit ratio eh. So, and you'll never know if the tip that you're gonna give is going to be a winning stock, losing stock eh. So ako, hindi na ako, pag tinatanong ako, sabi ko, ganito, pero ito yung cut ko.
So ano hawak mo ngayon, sir?
Tsaka yung cut mo. Sabihin mo na rin yung cut mo.
Kompletuhin mo na, bro.
Hindi na rin ko bigla eh.
So, may cut naman eh.
So, Sir Javi, that was the side of being a fund manager. How about for, Brad, trade. Magsalita ka naman dyan, Brad. Nandiyan ka ba?
Anong trade gusto mo?
Nawala ata si Ray ba?
Napa-CR na.
Si Ray, okay.
Teka lang, nawawala yung net ko eh. Sorry, nagchat-champ. Hindi ako makaka-catch up eh.
Sorry, Sir Javi.
Yes.
Ano ba? What school of thought or trading system you're mainly using?
Okay, so when it comes to the system, and salamat na tinanong mo yan, kasi I think a lot of people have a misconception that ang sistema ko talaga is an Elliott wave-based system. Pero ang sistema ko talaga is a momentum and trend following. So,
kasi nabanggit mo yata yun sa di ba? Sa trading cup.
Correct. And I think, Dave, ikaw yung nasa gitna na
Oo. Kaya kay Sir Edward.
Hindi. Kasi, so my system is to answer your question. Obviously, I started out with C. If you look at two of my biggest influences, it's really COL, Edward, and obviously Edward and Juanes. And for those of you, some added information, back in the 90s, COL or City Securities was really the house that was known to be, it was the house that was built by analysis. So, yun talaga yung template of, let's say, when you come in here, people really, the strength of most people here is really technical analysis, because that's really the strength of the people at top. That was the first strength ever of the house, which was technical analysis. So, so ako, nung nag-start ako, since I was a CMT, which was a black belt essentially in classical technical analysis.
Wow.
And obviously, when I started out, especially 2013 onwards, I was mainly, my biggest influence was really Juanes and Edward. So because it was really, Juanes was the biggest essentially influence to the way I traded. Yung system ko talaga is classical technical analysis. Now, which means that from a system point of view, it's essentially, in ZFT terms, it's moment and trend follow, TF, right? Now, it was over the years that, syempre, as a trader, you're always looking for ways to upgrade, to bring your system to another level. So, nung 2014 or 15, I met this guy, so I attended his class. His name's Roy Laksama. And for most people in the industry, he's really the hardcore, purong elitician in the country. As in, nobody comes close to him. If you meet him, he has like, and I'm not exaggerating, he has 10 tattoos all over his body.
Elliot Wave.
Obviously, yeah.
Si Tato Trader talaga.
Tato Trader ba yan?
Pero he has tattoos of Fibonacci, of the Elliott Wave principle. It's all Elliott based tattoos, right? Meron siya sa neck niya, sa tenga niya, sa paa niya, sa kamay niya. So people, a lot of big names in the mutual fund industry, in the UITF industry, even in the industry, really come to him for Elliott Wave, and that got me interested in essentially just a sub-dialect inside technical analysis. And I slowly built my understanding through not just him but through subscriptions. Kasi wala ka talaga makikitang libro eh. To be honest eh. Like if you read the wave principle, matutulog ka.
Especially sa Philippine stocks, diba? Philippine stocks.
Especially sa Philippine stocks, wala ka talagang, there's no precedence. So when I started, because I subscribed to pretty much all the subscriptions, so I've been a subscriber since 2015-16, and nakita ko like with how most of these people traded, talagang it really worked, right? So and I know Elliott is maybe the most criticized dialect inside technical analysis. And what I always tell myself is, a belief will always be a poor substitute for an experience, right? And if that's what people believe, but here I am 3 years deep into learning this on top of my classicals, seeing guys like Avi Gilbert, Robert Prechter, Sid Norris, and all these other guys just making sick calls about the market cycles and how they're trading. Nakita ko talaga from my own experience na it really worked. If you do it at a high level, that's one. And second, if you're able to mount it on top of a classical system. So to explain my system, I'm essentially a momentum/trend fund that uses an Elliott framework essentially to help me to give me that edge, And every time someone criticizes an Elliott system, I always smile because the more people criticize it, the more I know that I have an edge. So
ang misunderstood niya kasi, parang ang misunderstood niya Wave.
And to be honest, it can be easily misunderstood because it is a directional bias eh.
And may mga
if you look, and the reason why, if you look at the number one reason why, because if you're a setup-based trader, which is 99% of all the systems in the Philippines, Linda Rashke, directional bias will always be the enemy of setup-based trading, which means that if you're a setup-based momentum trend follow, you always want to stay away from directional bias, whether it's directional bias from Funda, from Macro, from Elliott, from I don't know, Viber group where you get your ideas, right? So
FB groups, shout out.
FB groups. But the point is that if you already are a black belt in classical, a black belt in momentum, in trend following, then you can now mount a Elliott system that can help you complement your trend following and your momentum. What do I mean? It means that, like for example, classic example would be, let's say for example, PXP back in 2017. nung nasa 380, 420, may setup yun eh. Kaka-breakout lang from a very long base. And then it was consolidating in a launching pattern prior to the... If you're a setup-based trader, bibilin mo siya, right? And ngayon, pag nabili mo na, syempre, a setup-based trader will probably look for divergences as a setup to sell. Maybe they're gonna trail it sa 5-10 day EMA, right? But the difference between, let's say, a setup and a setup person that uses an elite complement is that the person with an elite complement is more mentally prepared to hold on to the uptrend and to know at what exact resistance where he should be mentally prepared to be able to look for a setup to sell. Because even if you have an Elliott based guide on where prices can go, pare-pareho lang naman tayo. We're still gonna follow price at the end of the day.
Yes.
Exactly. I mean that's really the bottom line eh. So
parang may pagka-foresighting siya, no? Yung Elliott.
The term that we like to use is, if your setup is your weapon, let's say, I don't know, AK-47 or your steer or whatever pistol you're holding.
4-4.
Elliott is 4-4.
F1 4-4 mo. Serog.
Okay. So, kung yun yung baril mo, yung Elliott is simply your anong tawag doon, yung
scope.
Yung infrared scope, right? It's your homing guidance system.
Ganda nung analogy din.
Homing guidance system. And it also, in my case, from my experience, malaki yung value add niya. Why? Kasi may mga questions na nasasagot yung homing guidance system na hindi nasasagot ng baril. For example, classic question that most people ask: should I resign from my job to pursue trading full-time? Right? Hindi naman yan masasagot ng sistema eh. Diba? Siguro kung galing kang 2017, baka sabihin mo, itong sistema ko, ito yung kinita, kaya natin mag-resign to pursue trading full-time. But if you had a homing guidance system that helped you answer the question, where am I in the cycle? And remember, when you're answering the question, where am I in the overall cycle? If you're counting, let's say if you're doing a wave count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 AEC, it's no different than Minervini's framework of neglect, advancing, topping, and declined. The only difference is that yung Elliott gives you a homing guidance as to where to focus your system. Kumbaga, for example, kung nag-Elliott ka, then as early as April, nakita mo, cryptocurrency, dito yung advancing phase. Dito natin apply yung barrel natin. Dito natin apply yung ammunition natin. Kasi syempre, no matter what system you use, everyone has limited access. So, and we all need a system will help you operate on a day-to-day basis. But it's really your homing guidance that will give you the overall strategy as to where to direct your fire, right?
Nahip na ako, Brad. Nahip na ako, Brad.
Bitcoin na nga eh.
Pero
marami nang Bitcoin eh.
Pero I'll be the first to say, mahirap siya. It's very hard to learn. In fact, ako, marami pa ako hindi, like ako pag, because I read on a day-to-day basis, and marami pa akong binabasa na I need to read over and over. kasi I think for most advanced traders know that the market moves in fractals, which means that markets move in cycles. Kung ano makikita mo sa 5-year, yun din yung makikita mo sa 1-hour chart.
Right.
So in a manner of speaking, yung mga corrections na makikita mo, for example, yung mga bounce plays na tinatrade mo, Dave. may mga bounce plays din that happen on a 5-year time frame, right? Let's say, pag sasuloy mo sa 236 or 382 fib, same technique also applies on a 5-year cycle. Same technique also applies on a 20-year cycle, on a 50-year cycle, if you zoom out the chart, right? So ano bang sinasabi ko? Yung ELO technique is something that you can apply not just I see a lot of people apply it on the 5-minute chart. Yun talaga sobrang quadruple black belt.
Grabe na yun. Advanced na, pinaka-advanced na yan.
Oo, sobrang ano. And ako, for those people listening who are maybe considering learning about it, maybe the most important advice is you need to...
Why not now and not tomorrow? I feel so sad and full of sorrow. Why not now and not tomorrow? I guess it's time to let you go. I guess I have